you guys out there interested in single family, long term flips, wholesales, rentals, and even multifamily, we're going to get into it. We got Josh Axe with us on the show from down there in from NEPA Cash Offers. He's down there in sunny Arizona, something we do not have right now. We do not have a lot of sun out here in Seattle. But hey, you get some, there's pluses and minuses to living in the rainy state. So it's going to be a good day, though. So, Josh, I'm excited to jump into this. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I told you before we got on here, we always like to start with stories. We like to hear how people got to where they are. So, why don't you take us to the beginning of your story in real estate and just tell us how you got here?
Yeah, so I started in property management. So I was the owner's agent. So I would work with owners to get them signed up for property management services. Quickly realized that they're making 400 or 500 bucks a month in cash flow. We were doing all the work. I'm like, how do I get some rentals? So started the YouTube University. Bigger Pockets, all the podcasts you could imagine, and kind of crafted my own method, I guess, of the type of investing I wanted to do, and just grew it from there.
Nice, man. So you started on the property management side. That is, on this show, we talk a lot about getting into real estate investing through one of kind of the ancillary or the service oriented careers that support real estate. Property
Yep.
management has to be the hardest way to do that, just because, I know property managers, the ones that we have, the ones that I've spoken with, it is a tough job. So tell us, why
Yep.
don't we start there and just tell us about your experience on the property management side? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, I really had the best role that you could have in property management because I was working directly with the owners, explaining our services and whatnot. But I was in the office and could see all the headaches and all the, stuff that we would deal with so that I could explain it to people. And, we'd have so many people with horror stories that, they didn't sign up with us. And then they came back 6 months later, like, help, this tenant totally is screwing me over. I should have used you. And so, you know, having those stories allowed me to like communicate better with the owners. And, um, I liked that I started in kind of the like hardest piece of real estate because it really taught me like the value of it. And if you get really good at property management, like the thing that I tell people is like, that's really where you build wealth in real estate. If you can manage assets long term and have tenants in place that are happy in properties that can cash flow, I mean, you really can set yourself up for financial freedom. But you have to know property management. Even if you hire it out, knowing it is so critical to your own success.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is, I mean, just like you said, knowing property management, even when you are not the property manager, because it shows you what good property management looks like. And I'm telling you guys,
Absolutely.
finding a good property manager is one of the hardest parts about real estate. Especially, I mean, depending on the type of property you invest in, but
For sure.
it is definitely a difficult thing. And we buy mobile home parks, RV parks, self storage facilities. All three of those assets is just very, very difficult to find those deals. And for everybody who's watching on YouTube, I do apologize. It looks like I just had some kind of technical issue and I am no longer here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have somebody fix that. But in the meantime, we're gonna keep going because you can still hear me, right, Josh?
Yep. I can hear you just fine.
Okay, you guys
And
get
I'm
a look
glad
at.
I'm not the only one with technical difficulties. So,
There you go. We'll see if we can get this fixed. If not, then you guys just watch Josh's beautiful face as we talk.
oh, please. Thank you.
All right, so you got started property management. At what? Tell us about that first deal you got into. I'm sure. Did you start in single family or was it multifamily?
Yeah. So, I can't leave out a couple details. Like when I was in property management, I started doing really well signing up owners. And then they changed my bonus structure, switched to a different company. At the new company, I started doing like residential sales. And then I did help one of our owners buy an apartment building. And I didn't know it at the time, but he syndicated the deal. And so, I felt like king of the world. I made a $30,000 commission. I was probably like 25, 26 at the time, just like on top of the world. And then my wife got into PA school, which was in Pennsylvania. So we moved out there, and in Pennsylvania, northeastern PA, the median home value at the time was like 125 to 150,000. So as a real estate agent, you really were making, after splits, 2-3 grand a deal. And I was brand new to the area, so I didn't have a farm, didn't have a network, so I had to kind of get tactical with marketing. um, so I met up with um, uh, like one of the girls that was in my wife's PA program. Her husband was a doctor and they were in PA school. So we all went to dinner one night, and like, I always tell the story, like, when you're in real estate, you talk to doctors and they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to buy properties. Like, send me what you got. I'd love to invest, whatever." And then they never do anything. And then on the doctor side, it's like, "Oh gosh, a realtor who knows nothing about investing in real estate, please, like, don't send me crap deals." So like, him and I kind of went into this dinner with both the same like mentality, but I had managed hundreds of units and helped owners build up portfolios, and he had rental units. So we were like, "Wait, he's legit, cool." Like,
I knows what
so
he's
then we
talking
like bonded, and then we're like, "Well, let's start a business together." And our plan was to wholesale, and I think we sent like one mailer, got nowhere, and didn't do anything with it. So then we're walking our dogs one day on like a levee in Pennsylvania, and there's this like rundown motel looking apartment building. We're like, we should send this guy a letter. Like, doesn't look like he cares about it. So, I had learned from Bigger Pockets and all these other sources, like go to county data, find their info. So literally, I sent everyone with the same last name that owned properties in that county a letter, like, "Hey, we want to buy this building," And so like, I think we sent 20 letters. So the seller reaches out. He's like, "So I heard you boys want to buy my property." And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "And I know that because you sent mail to my sister, my
about.
brother, my
Hey,
cousin,
that is one way to get it done, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah." And so he's like, "Everyone was telling me that I should sell this property because you guys had reached out." And so it got his attention. He was living in Mexico at the time as an expat. He owned the building outright. So immediately we're like, "Oh, seller financing." So then he's like, "No shot. I have no interest in seller financing." We're like, "Dang." So then we start going through the due diligence. The property's way underperforming. Tenants are paying weekly with cash. Like, the books are terrible.
Weekly, wow,
Weekly. Yeah. I mean, it was run like a motel almost, but
that's funny.
it was 35 units. Um, there was 17 studios, uh, I think 2 1 bedrooms, and then the rest were 2 bedrooms. So, um, as we're going through due diligence, we're like, "Hey, this building will appraise for like 800,000," and we had gotten it under contract with him at 135. So we're like, "Look, we're not going to pay 5 grand for a commercial appraisal just for you to say no, I don't want to do the deal." So then he talked to his attorney, and his attorney's like, "Well, hey, if you seller finance this deal to them, there's actually some tax benefits you'll get, um, and there's no appraisal requirements because you're the lender." So we ended up structuring it to where it was interest only for 3 years. He had first right of refusal on new loans. And I think it was 5.5% interest. And this was like January of 2017. So it was a bit higher than we probably could have gotten interest rate wise, but we were happy to get the deal. And the kicker is, when he had reached out to his attorney, he kind of gave him a little bit of bad advice, but he's like, "The lower you get in principal, the less you pay in capital gains," which that piece was true. But he did have some recapture that he had to pay. So when he came back to us, he said, "I'll do seller financing, and I'll do 99% seller financing. So you put 1% down on a $1.35 million 35 unit building." And so we're
Sign me
like,
up every single day, I'll buy that deal.
"Oh yeah." And we're like, "Did we just like, what just happened?" Right? Like, I'm like cheering, "Let's go." But basically it was like $13,500 down. We ended up getting security deposits back at closing of like 20,000. So it was like, what the heck? And
You made
so
money to close, yeah.
all of the tenants' leases were month to month. So we immediately got them on our leases. started billing back utilities. And like month 2 or 3, we were, from where we started, we were up 4K a month in, cash flow. So like,
Nice.
you know, got the insurance dialed. I mean, it was crazy.
And
So that was January.
I want to
January.
call out real quick. I want to call out the way that you got that deal. And this is something that I don't do enough myself, but I need to do it. Is when you're walking around and you see a shitty property, just a piece of crap out there,
Yep.
make sure and there's actually an app that you can do this where you take the picture and it'll send
Letter.
a mailer.
Uh-huh.
I forget the app name, but it's already out there and I have it on my phone. I'm even subscribed to the service, but I just
Yeah.
don't do it.
It's
But
crazy.
it is a great way to get deals because those crappy looking houses, those are
Yep.
the deals. It could be a
100%.
house, it could be a multifamily, like you mentioned.
Yep.
Anything really, anything that looks like the owner doesn't care,
Mhm.
is a potential deal. And so I really like that. That's how you guys found that. It was, it wasn't some massive campaign. You were just out
Nope.
there. You saw something that needed repairs, something that needed work, and you reached out to the owner. And I like that you reached out to every single one of the family
100%.
members.
Well, because we wanted to be sure we got a response, and we're like, this address is Mexico. That's weird. Like maybe that's wrong. So we sent it out. But here's kind of the gold of the story and why it was a grand slam. So we bought it for 135 in January of 17. We get an appraisal September the same year. So we've done everything to do, and a lot of the cash flows we just reinvested into redoing units. So September 16th, the same year, I remember the day because it was just like the aha moment. We we got our appraisal back, 2.58 million.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the
And that was
seller.
under a year. You said, and I apologize for everybody on YouTube again. I'm still dealing with technical issues, but we're rolling with it.
Yep,
So
it
that
was 8 months. 8 months later, we got an appraisal, 2.58 million, because we had increased the NOI so much that it valued at that. So
yeah. And so
home
that
run deal. Seller actually was the one who he had first right of refusal on new loans. So he actually lent us another $387,000
oh, so you
on
did
the
cash
same
out.
building. We cashed out 387,000, and the seller was the one who had the proceeds that lent us the additional 387. So
Oh,
we
wow.
kept his first in place and did a second.
Yeah. That is really cool. And I want to highlight that because a couple of my coaching clients, they didn't realize the impact that NOI has on valuation. And
Yep.
so like you did, if you can increase that NOI by it might seem small to you, like $30,000 doesn't seem like a lot. What are you going to do
Mhm.
with 30,000? But if you apply a cap rate to that, especially in an
Yes.
area where cap rates are low, that turns into a very, very sizable amount.
Yep.
So when you guys, the reason that commercial real estate is so much better in my opinion, than single family. And single family, it's not better. They each have their spot, but
Sure.
commercial real estate is amazing because you can force appreciation through the increase of NOI. And that's
Yep. In
something,
a huge way.
yeah.
So to have an example on exactly what you're teaching. So the previous owner's insurance premiums per year were 16,000,
Mm,
and the market cap rate in Pennsylvania where we invest is 8. So we
okay.
got that
That's high, I
16,000.
feel like.
Huh?
That's high for a multifamily, I feel like. 8 cap.
It is. I mean, it's shrunk now, but it's like a tertiary market. It's not
Mm,
like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's a declining population.
mm.
Cash flow is really good. Like no one
Yeah.
go there because it's mine. Okay. But so that we saved $8,000 per year on premium. And since it's an 8 cap market, just that 5-minute phone call to our insurance agent increased the value $100,000.
Right.
So that $8,000 NOI gain increased 100,000 because it's an 8 cap market.
Yep. And
So
that is the importance of focusing on NOI when you're doing
yep,
renovations.
yep,
What was the capex that you guys? My camera just keeps going out. I don't know what the deal is.
yep.
What was the capex that you guys put into it?
Yeah. So I think so my business partner being a doctor, he lent the business like 25,000. But aside from that, there was no additional capex outside of self-funded from the cash flows.
Oh, wow. This was all essentially operational improvements.
Yes. Right. And so like every time a unit would go vacant, because we started billing the utilities back, we had a couple tenants leave. We bumped rent sometimes $200 a door just because it was so under market.
Mm, yeah.
So like another key is like, don't just go buy large multifamily because you can. Like you have to really know the numbers. And
Yep.
like if you're overpaying for a property, you're starting so much further behind. But since we knew that it was undervalued and we bought it at its current value, not pro forma. Pro forma is nothing. It's pretend.
That's
At
what
the
brokers want you to buy on is pro
Oh
forma,
my
but
gosh, it's
not.
like, so you want me to invest all this money and time to get the money that I'm paying you now? Like to make it worth what I'm paying you? That's no. I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So that was my first deal. Like grand slam, knocked it out. It was the best.
And I love hearing when people do have that type of first deal. It is, I will say, it is rare, but when you do have a deal from the very beginning that is a grand slam, and you realize the potential of commercial real estate investing, it
Mhm.
really lights the fire in you and gives you the motivation to go forward.
Yep.
A lot of people, I had my first deal. I think I made like $5,000. It was still a
Mhm.
check, and I was still happy. But having that first, grand slam first deal is something that really gets you that motivation. So from that point forward, I know right now you guys do a ton in flips,
Mhm.
and wholesales and multifamily, obviously. Tell us about how your business has evolved.
Yeah. So, from that cash out refi, I started, proceeding to like look for flips and things. My business partner, being a doctor, didn't want the risk or stress of flips. So, I started sending direct mail. Like that's kind of my like secret weapon is like I'm really good at direct mail. I pull niche lists, I stack the lists. Like my average ROAS over the last, I don't know, 10 years is like 7.8x. So for
Yep.
every dollar I put into mail, I get almost eight back. And
Yeah.
it's because of how I send the mail. So just started sending mail and started, locking up deals. I never really was heavy on sending mail or advertising that I was a cash buyer because I didn't have the cash.
Mhm.
After the cash out refi, I was like, no, I have the cash. I will buy your property. Like you, I'm the guy. And just started doing that and started winning some good deals. My partner after was like, well, hey, wait a minute, I want to do that, that's awesome. And so we partnered up on the flips until like January 1st of 2020, and then he backed out, and then COVID happened, and so I'm like by myself in the business, like, oh my gosh, what is going on? um,
Nice.
but yeah, so now, what we do now is we send, probably 40 to 50,000 pieces of direct mail per month. Using those stacked lists, we, generate a couple hundred leads a month, and we buy, anywhere from 6 to 10 properties a month, and our average spread right now is 24.5. So we're kind of cranking and moving some deals. So it's been great.
Nice, man. Well, you just said a number that now has turned the entire remainder of the podcast to direct mail. You said 40,000 a month.
Oh
That
yeah.
is an insane. I haven't heard of anybody sending that many mailers every single month.
Oh
I
yeah.
love mailers, especially if especially if you target like the 60-year-old plus
Yep.
range of
Yep.
age, because those are the ones that like they will pick up that mail, they'll open it, they'll read it. So tell me a bit about this. Obviously, you guys have the volume, you have the experience.
Mhm.
What are how are we going to do this? Because we don't have too much time. We did start late, but I want to get into the juice of this. So, what are like the top three um, things that you guys are doing differently in your mailers that you feel
Mhm.
gives you a competitive advantage in
Yep.
the direct mail kind of space?
So it's list stacking. So specifically, like, you know, a lot of people will target an area because they like a city or whatever. What we do is a little different. We look at motivations first. So inherited lists, delinquent tax, pre foreclosure, probate. Um, those are kind of the main ones, but and then vacant, failed listings. So then what I'll do is, and then obviously all of them have to be scrubbed against an equity list. You don't want to send a piece of mail to someone who owes, 150,000 on their $120,000 house. It just doesn't work.
Do you have a
So
minimum equity that you target?
yeah, we do 25%, and I do 25% because the data in my market is not super accurate with the like data houses.
Yeah.
So like PropStream will say, "Oh, this property is worth, 70,000," and I'll look at it and it's like 150,000 all day.
Yeah.
So, it's like I kind of can get loose with that, but ideally they have 25%. Um, another good list is
Real quick
100%.
on
Yeah.
that, I'm curious. So one of my coaching clients, they focus on Michigan, on the Michigan markets,
Yep.
and I've always used Property Radar. I
Okay.
really like that platform,
Yep.
but when we, especially on the commercial side, when we searched for data in Michigan, there was nothing, and it was weird. It was like we
Interesting.
searched the city of Detroit, or was it the city of Grand Rapids or something, and it said there was like 30 multifamily apartment complexes there, and I'm like,
Oh,
it's
interesting.
got to be more than 30.
Yeah.
So what is your experience between PropStream, which is probably the most popular data
I use
platform
both.
for?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I use both. I stack them together too. So like I'll do a delinquent tax, property radar, delinquent tax prop stream, see where they overlap, and then send the ones that don't. Right. Because I'm going to
Interesting.
send, either one. But I found I invest in two counties in Pennsylvania that are next to each other. And one county will say multifamily dwellings is the like property code in PropStream, but then the next county over, it will be like general multifamily or garden apartments. Like, so sometimes you have to play with those criteria inside of, um, and then just reverse engineer. Like, if you find a property that you're like, hey, I know this is a multifamily property, like on PropStream, you can look at the map view and click on the actual property, and then it'll tell you how it's classified in prop. And
Yeah.
then that you just have that as your filter.
Yeah.
So, pro tip is go to your county direct for data. Don't use PropStream for the county data because the county is going to be so much fresher and so much more accurate. And then to level the pro tip up, you can actually upload your delinquent tax list you get from the county into PropStream with the parcel
Mm,
number,
nice.
because the county list you get is going to be crappy like format, and it's not going to have super useful data. It won't have property types, won't have equity, won't have any of that. But you can upload your list from into PropStream and then re-download it. So now you have clean formatted data, and then you can stack that with a vacant, a failed listing, uh, like an inherited list. So that's really where we see the return like exponentially jump, is if you start stacking, obviously equity, but you have vacant, you have failed listing, and you have pre-foreclosure delinquent tax. That person is literally raising their hand saying, please buy my property. And no one bought it. It failed. The listing failed. No one bought it. And so if they have equity, like call them, mail them, whatever it takes. Like if you don't have the money to send mail, PropStream's $100 a month. You can Uber to get $100 a month, and you can get a freaking list, and then you can pick up the phone and call the owner. Could you imagine picking up a phone and talking to someone you've never talked to before? What if that's the difference between $100,000 and you, or $387,000 8 months later? Pick up
Yeah.
the freaking phone, send
And
some mail.
that is one thing that people I've coached, people I've talked with. It seems to be the fear factor that there is like a hill or something that you got to get over. But once
Yep.
you just make those first 10 calls, and then
Yep.
it's whatever. You're just calling people. It's not a big deal. But you do have to get over that initial fear, because a lot of people do have fear about calling strangers.
Yeah.
Um, but there's no reason to. You gotta get the reps in. You gotta just hit it until it kind of comes second nature.
Yep.
So all this stuff that you've been talking about, especially at the 40,000 per month mark, that is,
Huh?
it is very data heavy. And so there's a lot of
Yep.
things that you have to do to get this data to work. I'm assuming you have a VA team that handles the data, that massages it.
It's all me. Yeah,
Oh,
all
wow.
me. Yeah.
Nice.
So we use a CRM called RE Simply.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I'm an affiliate, not plugin if you are, but I have a link if anyone. No, but RE Simply is great because you can upload your lists and it will allow you to tag all your lists as you upload them. And then it's just as simple as like selecting your tags. And what's great is every time you actually send mail, if you use Resimply correctly, it has a bookkeeping feature. So every time you pay for mail, you it will link to the campaign of your direct mail, and it will actually show you your ROAS once you
Oh.
get income from that same campaign.
Oh, you send mailers through RE Simply. They're
Well, no, I just use the list stacking feature. So I use all
mm,
these different systems, but I use Yellow Letter HQ.
mm,
So he's out of San Diego. He's my boy, Todd Swaggerty, the G. Um, he's great. Um, he can get like once you start sending volume, you can talk with him and his team about getting you wholesale pricing. So
mm.
if you just use a standard Mailhouse Vistaprint or whatever, you're going to pay so much more money than you need to. You have to deal with a vendor in the space.
Yeah.
And
And
once
I
you start
will
sending, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
it's awesome. Yellow Letter HQ. That's good that you. I mean, if you like it, that is a great shout out. I'm also going to put Yellow Letter Services.
Hmm.
I've been using them forever, and they are another great option. I haven't used Yellow Letter HQ, but I'm sure they're just as good. So those are two options for
Yep.
you guys to go out there and hit. Do you send postcards or actual mailers?
I send a mix of everything.
Mm,
So we do like pressure sealed checks. A pro tip if you do those, don't put a price. Anytime you put a price, if the automated valuation is incorrect,
mm,
you're either way too high or you're way too low, and it starts the conversation terrible,
yeah.
right? So you know, just put call today, find out what your offer is, whatever. And then, like we get those at such a good price, sometimes less than postcards, So um, it's really about who you know in the industry, but we switch it up. So I send mail every single month, and I'll switch up the piece
Mm,
because people respond to different things. And here's the important thing to know about direct mail: if you're mailing to the right list, what you mail doesn't matter. Right. So
that's good.
there's an OG in the space. I don't know if he's even in the business anymore, but Michael Quarles, he was on one of the bigger pockets and I liked how he talked and he had a yellow letter business, whatever. And so, he had this thing where he's like, if you see a dilapidated house and they're motivated, there's a foreclosure notice on the door, and you write on a napkin, give me a call, I want to buy your house. And you tape it to their door. If they're a motivated seller, they're going to call you because they need to sell their house and you're actually helping that person out.
Yeah.
So don't get so like I tell people, don't get so caught up on what you're sending. Just
Oh
send the
man.
piece.
I for mailers, I will spend hours just like changing one word, another word. And
Yeah.
I know in my mind, I'm like, this is useless. This is not what's gonna
Yeah.
actually close the deal. But it's
ADHD for sure. It's a wormhole.
yeah. Nice, man. I will say one, we do have to move on because we're running
Of
the clock
course.
down hard here.
Yep.
But I will say one thing before about data is a lot of times, especially when you're buying things like mobile home parks, RV parks, self storage facilities, what I focus on, a lot of times it will be in the system, in their system, wrong. It will be
Yep.
categorized wrong. And actually, I'm under contract to close a deal right now that was in it was in their system. I mean, in the county records, it shows as a single family house.
Oh
So they
wow.
aren't getting, destroyed by investors calling them. But it's
Interesting.
a 45 unit mobile home park.
Wow.
And so a lot of times those are wrong. And so if you're looking after a specific type of property,
Yeah.
get your VAs to literally go into Google Maps and look for
Yep.
that type of property,
Super
mobile home
smart.
park, self storage, whatever, and then get the property, the APN, and search it on Property Radar or whatever. And sometimes, it might be labeled wrong. And my best deals have been those deals because those guys have not been
Interesting.
hounded by investors.
Oh, and
And
you're
so
not
you get,
competing in offers too.
yeah, yeah. I'm selling 2 self-storage facilities right now, and I got those deals this way. And the guy, like, they were 2 smaller self-storage facilities in Dallas, and he sold it to me. It was 16,000 square feet, net rentable square feet, and I
Wow.
bought them for $300,000, which is just, I mean, I don't know if you know storage, but it's an insane
No,
price.
but yeah, I mean, I know enough to know that that's a deal.
Yeah.
Holy.
Anyways, so the moral is there. Data is super important, and if you can get your VAs, if you're in a specific niche, look at Google Maps and
Yep.
skip trace those the ones that you find because sometimes they're gold. All right, with that, we do have to move on to the quick question round. We got 5 minutes left here, so you
Okay.
ready to rock?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Starts with education. Could be any form, could be a book you've read, movie you've seen, conference you've been to, anything like that. I just need 2 recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
10X rule, Grant Cardone. It was like a switch flipped for me. And then for real estate specific, I would say, I think it's Jay Scott wrote the book on negotiating real estate. It's something with that title, but has some really good tactics and presentations of offers and some like NLP built into it.
Mm.
So those are 2 books highly recommend.
Nice. Yeah. I love negotiating books because that is such a crucial stage of
Yep.
the acquisition is just negotiating the deal. And there's so many ways to creatively do it to where you can get a deal done where you otherwise wouldn't have if they listen, a lot of ways, but that's a good recommendation. I'll definitely have to jump into that. Next question is for your younger self. Let's go back to the Josh who was still a property manager. I can't remember what year you said that was, but back to that version of yourself. Go to
Mhm.
him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Uh, buy everything.
I like
um,
it.
I mean, but trust yourself, go harder, faster, and try to keep the wheels on.
There you go. And anytime anyone says something like that, we always put it in the bucket of I wish I got started sooner.
Yep.
So if any of you guys out there are listening to this podcast and you don't have your first deal done, go get it done. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be a single family, multifamily, whatever. Piece of land, just go buy it, get that first deal done. That is going to start the ball rolling. And one thing will lead to the other. And 10 years down the road, you're going to be very thankful that you started today versus tomorrow.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, next question is about we already kind of talked this one. I'm going to skip it. We're going to go to the question about the US. It's a big place. There is a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
Um, I'm not investing here yet, but Phoenix. I think Phoenix has been pummeled in the apartment space. Everyone was buying 4 caps and they shouldn't have been. And I think they're starting to feel some pain. So I'm really hopeful. I say this in a weird way. I'm really hopeful that there's a lot of great deals available from lenders, maybe. Um, but I've been networking with some brokers, and I think there's some pain in the market, and I think there's some things coming that could be very fruitful for investors who buy on principles and not pro formas.
Yeah. Phoenix is such a interesting market because I feel like it's the only one that comes to my mind when I think of like a very spiky up and down kind of market.
Yeah.
It like valuations goes through the roof and then they crash and then through the roof. And it's interesting that there's so much volatility there. All right, that leads us to the lessons learned. Not every deal we get into goes the way we expect it. In fact, pretty much every time something goes wrong, and
Mhm.
that's when we get to learn a lesson. So, what was a deal that went a little bit sideways for you, and then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
Oh man, there's so many. I'm dealing with one right now where we bought a property and the seller didn't disclose that the septic is on the neighbor's property. And so we're having a hell of a time selling it. So, um, be better about due diligence and um, ask all the questions. You
Yeah.
can't lose money on a deal that you don't buy. That's kind of obviously. But you'll never get anywhere if you don't take any risks. So you have to swing, and you're going to strike out. But if you swing enough times, you'll hit one out of the park.
Yeah. And I feel like so many times, especially for this question in particular, the lesson learned is to be more thorough with due diligence.
Yep.
That's where you're going to get bit, is not, sticking to your checklist. And so
Yep.
stick to your checklist, get it all done, and make sure that there's no massive red flags that are going to change that valuation. All right. And that leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. Is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah. Instagram's probably the best. So it's just at the Josh Axe. And let me know if you need help with direct mail or list pulling, or you're in Phoenix and you like cars. We can go for a drive. I like cars. So yeah,
Nice. You
about
should have
it.
said that earlier. We could have had a conversation about that.
What do you
Um,
got?
no, I don't have any cars, but I'm curious to
Oh,
know what you got.
oh yeah.
But with that, I will put that link in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out to Josh, all you got to do is click the little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description, and in there you can find his links. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to meet you.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe, at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a review, comment, anything like that. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.